is Unit 7, Target 1 and 2 worksheet, number 10. I have an endpoint 10, 2 and a midpoint -5, -3. I'm trying to find the other endpoint. I can write the other endpoint as x, y, and then use my midpoint formula. My midpoint formula says to add the two x's, so the x I know is 10, the x I don't know is x, and divide by 2. So I'm finding the average of the x's, and I know that that's supposed to equal -5 because that's the midpoint. Now I solve this algebra equation, multiply by 2 on both sides. When you multiply by 2 and divide by 2, they cancel each other out. 10 plus x is equal to -10. Subtract 10 on both sides, and I get x equals -20. So -20 is the x-coordinate of the midpoint. Sorry, the x-coordinate of the other endpoint. I can do the same thing with the y values. 2 plus y divided by 2 is going to equal the y-coordinate of the midpoint, -3. Solving this equation by multiplying by 2 gives me 2 plus y is equal to -6. So y equals -8. So the other endpoint is at -20, -8. Another way to do the problem, besides using the algebra equation, is to think about it from a transformation perspective. The endpoint is translating to the midpoint by a certain distance. The 10 is becoming a -5, which means you had to go 15 units left. Or if you're thinking about the x number 10, you had to subtract 15. If I subtract 15 again from the midpoint, I get -20. So it's like saying I went from 10 to -5, I went 15 to the left. If I go 15 to the left again, I get -20. For the y value, I went from 2 to -3. So I started at a 2 on the y, and I went down to -3. So I went down 5. So if I subtract 5 or go down 5 again, I'd get to -8. So -20, -8 is the midpoint, or sorry, is the end point.